What's up, hockey fans, and welcome back to the Good Goal Podcast, episode 28. I'm Christian Brady from Clemson, South Carolina, and across the town, across campus, is Matt Tiart. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So what's going on, Matt?
Nothing. I haven't seen you in a while. It's been about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Me and Christian, finally, my last semester as a Clemson Tiger, we have a class together. We were actually working on our script during class when we should have been paying attention, but
Yeah, don't tell Dr. Harrison.
It's all good.
Hey, it's a sports class. It's a sports podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Dr. Harris, she's a Flyers fan, so we're definitely going to have to show her the podcast, and she's not going to be happy with our picks, but I think she'll enjoy the content.
Yeah, she's a big Gritty fan too, which I'm a Gritty fan as well.
We all are.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably ever since his assault.
Yeah, assault on a
I've
kid.
probably been a huge fan. Yeah.
Big stuff tonight. We got the inaugural Good Goal Podcast hockey draft. We're doing, for those people on Twitter, we're doing family only for the first one, so it is closed. But hopefully next season we'll do it big, we'll do it better. But right now we got me and my two brothers, and then your brother and your dad, right? So
That's
it's
correct.
gonna be some Brady versus TR trash talk. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we should get a group chat going, and we'll definitely keep the pod updated on the standings and everything. And you and I think we'll talk about our teams next. Like you said, the draft is tonight. So
yeah, pretty exciting stuff. We're gonna get some Little Caesars, so Little Caesar sponsor us.
Yeah, they sponsored the Red Wings, so
they do. I mean, I doubt they'll sponsor us now because that's one of the teams we talk crap on a lot. But
yeah.
Anyway, this is good. Go ahead.
We burn a lot of bridges on this podcast, Matt. Not that many bridges make themselves available to us, but if they were to, they'd be burned.
The bridge I'm most upset about is Emma. So,
yeah.
For those that are listening that don't know who Emma is, go back to like episode 6. I confess she was me and Christian's old academic advisor, and I confessed my love to her, and then literally a week later she left, and I thought I got her fired. It was like literally 2 weeks of me like sweating bullets.
And multiple staff members that Matt did not know were aware of this have reached out to him asking him how he's doing in the absence of Emma.
Yeah. It's like a whole, like literally the Department of Communication at Clemson knows that I had this thing for Emma, and they like all make jokes about it. They reach out to me. It's like way bigger than I wanted it to be. But so thanks, Wanda, because she's the one who spread the rumors.
All right, Matt. Well, we just mentioned the Detroit Red Wings, and I want to talk about a former Detroit Red Wings coach, Segue 101. Mike Babcock will join NBC as an analyst in lieu of Mike Milbury, who has been officially fired following, I won't say because we don't know for sure, but following his, what some would perceive to be sexist comments in the bubble, for which he was asked to leave Toronto or Edmonton, wherever he was stationed. And that will turn out to be the last thing he says on air as an NBC analyst.
Yeah, so he said his comments were, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it was like, because we're in a bubble, there's not women here to distract the players. That's essentially what he said. Mm-hmm. And not many people were excited about that comment. So
no.
And NBC's like official press release. It was like, we are not extending his contract. Like, we wish him good things. So it wasn't like he just got canned. I mean, that's what I put on the script, Mike Milbury canned. But I mean, 2 + 2 = 4. He's gone because of what he said.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I said this immediately when you told me the news. It felt like it was a matter of time for Mike Milbury even before he made comments like this, because he is definitely the most outspoken and unfiltered analyst we've probably ever seen in the game of hockey, other than actual players. So,
well, him and Don Cherry, but
yeah, right. And
he's gone
Don
too.
Cherry got fired. Yeah. And then Jeremy Roenick was on that list as well, and he got fired for some sexist comments that he made. So I hope that this isn't creating like a profile of bigotry that people see hockey
from
analysts
hockey
as.
players.
Yeah, or hockey players, people involved in hockey. I really don't think it is. I know hockey's been mentioned in that light in the past, the hockey community, the hockey culture. But Mike Milbury was a lot of fun to listen to, especially for me being a Bruins fan and him being a former Bruins employee as a player and a coach. And also a Walpole, Mass native. So he was always a favorite of mine, but I also knew that he was one of the most polarizing people in the sport. And like I said, it just felt like this was going to happen sooner or later.
It's kind of like, it's kind of like Don Cherry, where it's once he hits a certain level of fame, you kind of have like a mental countdown in your head. It's only a matter of time before this guy says something and he's canned. So, it stinks because he is one of the unfiltered guys who kind of brings a different light to being an analyst. But that's what you get when you're one of the guys that says what you're thinking. So
yeah,
I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, without filter. But they take a guy who's notorious for the same type of behavior and immediately plug him into the system. Mike Babcock, as I mentioned before, will join NBC in Mike Milbury's place. Mike Babcock obviously was fired this past season which crazy to say that, but
That's insane.
It was in October and November of 2019 that this happened. He was fired for some abuse, namely making Mitch Marner in his rookie year name the laziest people on the team in private, and then announcing his list to the team. Which, if I know we talked about this when it happened, but if you imagine being in that type of situation, that's that has to be one of the most uncomfortable things that Mitch Marner has ever been through.
Yeah.
And so that, coupled with what was going on in hockey at that time with the Akeem Alou situation, if you'll remember back to that, and the whole cracking down on abuse, Mike Babcock was sort of right in the middle of the big name of that. And not a season later, he is back in the hockey world without the shelter of a locker room, because things don't usually get out of NHL locker rooms or hockey locker rooms in general. And now he doesn't have that shelter, so he's going to have to do some serious filtering, which is probably the word of the day.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame coach for sure. So definitely his expertise will be in explaining, how coaching is done. He definitely brings a different, kind of the same light that Mike Milbury does. But it's weird to me that NBC is going in the route of you have to be on your A game. You cannot be unfiltered. Let's bring in a guy who is continuously reported for abuse. So
yeah,
that's that was kind of my first thought of, wasn't he fired because of the abuse? Over the fact that Toronto wasn't really producing results, but that's still the case now without him. So that's more of a Toronto thing rather than a Mike Babcock thing. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think Mike Babcock or Mike Milbury, for that matter, are bad people.
No,
in any stretch of the imagination. And I'm actually excited to see how he is as an analyst. I just think the contrast is extremely interesting, the way that Mike Babcock was fired for something similar, at least in the same realm of like saying things that are unacceptable. He's being hired after being fired for that and replacing a guy who was fired for that. So
yeah,
it's
that was
sort of ironic and maybe a little bit of a PR blunder that they announced these at the same exact time, because it's a completely obvious, replacement, trying to find a guy who's going to do exactly the same job as the guy before.
Yeah.
But whatever. I think hockey needs a guy like that. So, and hockey analysts need a guy like that. So, it'll definitely be interesting, Matt. That if you
Enough
get anything
said.
out of that whole thing, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
All right. On to the next. Jay Bouwmeester retires from the NHL. If you guys remember, back in February, he collapsed on the bench. It was a cardiac episode, is what they called it. It was during a game against Anaheim that they had to finish like at a later date, or they just wiped it off the schedule, or something happened, but they didn't finish the game that night.
Mm-hmm.
He was taken to the hospital, and then we were all wishing him like to come back, especially for the playoffs and stuff. And then he calls it a career after the bubble and this offseason. So 17 years in the league, and he's had a great career.
Yeah, incredible career. And we can just list down the numbers that you put on the script here, Matt. He was the number 3 overall pick in 2002, and he's one of the top 5 picks in NHL history that have completely panned out and lived up to expectations and even exceeded them, as he had 424 points in a whopping 1,240 games. Being a 1,000 game player is a very elite club.
Yep.
Of the NHL, and he surpassed it by 3 seasons worth of games. So it's just incredible that a guy of that size can last for that long. Same type of thing as Zdeno Chara. Jay Bouwmeester was, I mean, for our entire life, Matt, at least my entire life, and your entire hockey fandom has been a staple of Lockdown D, like that classic defenseman, physical, moves the puck from the back end, doesn't necessarily join the rush. Just like that, 90s, early 2000s breed of defenseman.
Which is crazy that someone that plays that style of hockey has almost 430 points in his career. Like, if you look at it face value, that's not that many points. But for someone that is a stay-at-home defenseman in the prototype, you have to add, because he's one of the prototypes of that style of defense.
Mm-hmm.
To have 424 points is pretty impressive. So
it's just a testament for how long he lasted, and not to mention how long he was on the ice on every single game.
Yeah, especially
guys like that played 20 minutes a night for 1,200 games.
Yeah, especially during that run in 19. So he won a Stanley Cup with the Blues. And I thought this was cool, the 29th player in hockey history to enter the Triple Gold Club, which is an IIHF World Championship, which he did in 2003, Olympic gold medal, which he did in Sochi, and then the Stanley Cup in 19. So awesome career. Wish him the best, whatever he does. And I'm hopefully he's healthy, like he's making a healthy decision rather than I'm hurt, I can't play anymore. It's like, I've had a good career, let's call it quits.
Yeah, agreed. And from what it sounds like, that's what is going on, which is good for him. He had a very scary episode, and he's able to move on from that, have a life after hockey. And like you said, there's absolutely no reason to come back. He's garnered the respect of every single hockey fan and player and anyone involved. And he's done just about anything you can do in the game. So
yeah. Well said.
Thanks.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Since he's a Boston Bruin.
Yep, Boston Bruins will retire the number 22, which belonged to Willie O'Ree, the NHL's first African-American player, or first Black player. I'm pretty sure he's Canadian, but so his number will be retired on February 18th. The Forum in Montreal was where his career started, Matt. I'm assuming that's why that's in there.
Yeah. January 18th, 1958. Throwback.
Yep, so that was his first game, made history in that game as the first Black player in the NHL, and has paved the way for so many, kids to play the game, for so many athletes to join the league from that background. And this is long overdue. I think he's a history maker, and he deserves to have his number retired.
It's insane to me that Jackie Robinson, and obviously he broke the color barrier for every sport. And I mean, that was 1947, but it's insane to me that guys like that are just now getting recognition in 2021. I mean, like you
Mm.
said, this is long overdue. I mean, hockey kind of has a reputation for being a white dominated sport. So I think it's even a bigger deal that someone could break the color barrier in hockey in 1958, 63 years ago. So
yeah, and
long
he is
overdue.
a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he's, started his own foundation, which has a lot of attention across the league and a lot of awareness. He has a lot of accolades after hockey, and this is just, one of those. He's a great ambassador for the game.
Yeah, I'm not saying he hasn't gotten any credit. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, I didn't.
It's weird to me that it's 2021 and it's like he's still being honored, whereas it should have been done way like a long time ago.
Agreed. Okay, let's move into 2021 and talk about the Dallas Stars, who, in unfortunate news, will not be starting their season on time due to positive COVID tests. 5 unnamed players and 2 unnamed staff members have tested positive as of a week ago. Could be more at this point, but at that point, the NHL said they will not start their season until at least January 19th. And that is if no more players test positive in a quarantine period in that time. So hopefully this is one of not many incidents like this. I know the NBA is dealing with a lot of stuff like this at present. And they're following a similar model that the NHL will, with no or limited fans and full travel. So the NHL is at least keeping it within the geographic divisions, which the NBA did not do. But I'm hoping that once the season starts, there won't be enough time for players to go out and catch it. They'll be sort of confined to themselves, which is sad. But at the same time, we want to see hockey. So
I want to bring up a point, and we talked about this in class. I think it was last week. Let's say St. Louis has a Friday, Saturday night back-to-back in Vegas. You're telling me that Bennington is not going to go out and throw $1,000 on black on a Friday night?
Well, even that, there are some situations where we were looking at the schedule and Boston was going into DC for a Friday 7:00 game and then a Sunday 5:00 game.
Yeah, see, that's even
so they have
worse.
A free Saturday. So what do you think they're going to do on that Saturday?
Vegas, New York, Tampa. I mean, players, you're going to tell millionaire hockey players, you have to sit in your hotel room on a Saturday night when you're away in Las Vegas.
Gosh, I hope it doesn't turn into cancel games and stuff, Matt, but it just feels inevitable.
And I know, and I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer, and I'm not trying to, but it's an interesting point of if you have a Friday game and a Sunday game and you're in Vegas, how do you monitor these players?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know really if you can. You just kind of have to trust the guys. And in Dallas, it doesn't seem to be working. With that being said, all it takes is one positive test to sort of spread throughout a team without them really even doing much wrong. I mean, there's only so much of it you can avoid, so much contact you can avoid within the arenas and within the system. And that one person could have caught it by completely benign means, like spending time with their wife or whatever, and their wife got it. And I don't want to assume that they got this from misbehaving.
But we've already seen it with NBA, and we've seen it with NFL. Players going out to clubs, players going out to dinner without masks, players going to restaurant openings. And it's like.
And those are all incidents that were caught on camera.
Yeah.
Which you have to imagine that there's probably 10 times that many which are not caught on camera.
Yeah.
Because if you think to the NBA, Kyrie Irving was just caught yesterday at a family party without a mask, but it's called a family party, but there were a lot of people there. James Harden was seen at a strip club without a mask on, surrounded by a lot of people. Dwayne Haskins.
Deshaun Watson was at his restaurant opening.
And Dwayne Haskins, albeit, got cut because of that. So, or at least that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But it's like you said, if you put it in the hands of the players and you say, we're trusting you not to do this, it's hard to imagine that all of them are going to abide by that.
Well, okay, so and here's how I want to transition into this. Did you see about Evander Kane yesterday? And I cannot believe we didn't put it on the script.
I know. I literally just thought about this right now.
So Evander Kane filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I'm not a business major. I'm not going to pretend what the different chapters mean.
Oh, I don't know.
But it said that he was $27 million in debt, and he claimed 7 family dependents, and he lost over $1.5 million last year in gambling alone. Okay, he signed a $49 million contract extension like 2 years ago. So I don't even know what to say other than why, one. And two, someone tweeted and said, it now makes sense why Evander Kane wants to fight the Paul brothers so bad.
For the payday.
Yeah, for the $30 million payday so he can pay off $27 million of his debt. But you have to think, and I don't want to stereotype hockey players, but you have to think Evander Kane's not the only one that has a gambling problem. So a Saturday night off in Vegas, I'm telling you, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah. I don't even want to think about that, Matt. So why don't we move on?
Okay.
We're talking about Vegas, the state of Nevada in general, which is a perfect segue to our next thing, which I'm pretty sure is in the state of Nevada, because I know the state of Nevada is on Lake Tahoe, or Lake Tahoe is partly in the state of Nevada, but Lake Tahoe will host NHL games. And I know we talked about this, but is now official. Saturday, February 20th, the Colorado Avalanche will take on the Vegas Golden Knights. And Sunday, February 21st, the Flyers take on the Bruins. There will be no fans, nothing surrounding the rink. It's literally just there's a picture online. So go to the NHL Twitter right now or search NHL Lake Tahoe online, and you'll see sort of an animated mock-up of a rink that's literally like 10 feet away from one of the walls is Lake Tahoe with the mountains in the background. And there's literally nothing surrounding it. There's no stadium. There's no seats because there's not going to be fans. So you're literally going to be looking through the glass on a broadcast into like the snow and then into the lake right behind it. It's really a cool thing if you like think about what that's going to be like, because we've watched games without fans now for a couple months. We've never seen a setup that's completely like made for having no fans. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah.
So that's like really cool. It's like you're playing in a rink that someone built, like you're in your buddy's backyard or something.
Yeah. So the only thing I can even compare this to is when Kraft Hockey Town does that award every year, and they host a preseason game in the arena that they're renovating, like whoever wins it. That's the only thing I can think of that even compares to this, because it's not an NHL stadium. But this is, like you said, no fans, and it's meant for this. And it's kind of like, I think it was 2 years ago, Crosby was on the way to the All-Star weekend, and he stopped and saw someone skating like on a lake. Hello?
Yeah, you're there.
Okay,
I got for a second. We can hear you the whole time.
I got a phone call in the middle of this. Crosby's on the way to the All-Star game and sees a kid like skating on a lake by himself and stops and signs his stick and plays with him. It's kind of like, I wish I would have seen that on camera. We get that. We get a full game on a lake.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not on the lake. It's like right against the lake.
Oh, same thing.
So yeah, no, it is the same thing. But people on Twitter were like, that lake doesn't freeze. So I don't know what they're thinking is going to happen. I just thought that was funny. But it's literally like probably the size of my room away from the lake, which is awesome. Also, it's going to be freezing. Like I can only imagine the wind that comes off of that lake and that mountain. It's probably going to be like wind chill below 10.
It's Nevada. It's going to be like 70 outside.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, 2 games, Saturday and Sunday in February. Both those teams have like 3 or 4 days on either side of that game to travel and stuff like
and
that.
go to Vegas and get COVID.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully not. Okay. We'll stick with the Bruins news. Patrice Bergeron has been named the 20th captain in Bruins history, though you could argue that he's the 21st captain because for about 45 seconds, Brad Marchand was named captain in the locker room. It was a really great scene, and some of the guys kind of ruined it by laughing while it was happening. But Don Sweeney and Cam Neely said, this is a guy that we feel naturally fills the position. It felt like they were describing Patrice Bergeron. And they were like, so without further ado, the obvious new captain of the Bruins is Brad Marchand. And he got up and they made a jersey with a C on it with the 63. It was really funny. Go look it up on Twitter. Or YouTube.
Yeah, go watch it because Bergie's just sitting there in his locker, like with his head down, like, is this really happening? And then he kind of caught on, like people are laughing. But at first, like his face at first is, "Are you kidding me right now?"
Yeah. That's all I got on that. He's going to make a great captain. He's a future Hall of Famer.
The newest edition of the Washington Capitals, Zdeno Chara said there's no one better that he would give the C up to than Bergeron. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into the season because as we record this, it is Tuesday, January 12th. In 12 hours, we'll be getting ready. We'll be watching the pregame show for 5 games to be played on January 13th, the beginning of the 2021 NHL season, which is weird because are they calling it the 2021 season? Because it really isn't. It's all taking place in 2021.
Yeah. I think it's the 2020-2021 season.
But it's not really.
No, yeah, whatever.
Either way, 5 games to be played tomorrow. And we'll highlight our game of the week of sorts, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa, we don't know if they'll be raising their banner or not. As you said, the Lakers didn't raise their banner. They wanted to wait until fans were there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if the same type of thing happened in Tampa. But nevertheless, it is the reigning Cup champion.
So the only reason we highlighted this, I mean, the Flyers are playing the Pens tomorrow. St. Louis is playing the Avs. Like, there's good games on tomorrow, but we highlighted this because Tampa's back. We're going to see how dominant they are. Chicago's got something to prove with their bubble run. And remember, Chicago beat Tampa in the 15 Cup. So you have to think that has something to do with the reason that they're hosting Chicago.
Yep. And we might see a rivalry renewed, which is a narrative across the league between those two teams. So first game will definitely be fun to watch. It's like we talked about last time. It's going to be another like shock moment where it's like, oh my God, like this is meaningful hockey that I'm watching on TV. It's not like a rerun from the bubble.
Also, a Chicago storyline that we were writing the script going, there's so much that happened in the hockey world and we're just blanking on it. And we were like looking up stuff and we couldn't remember what we saw. Corey Crawford retired.
That's right. Corey Crawford, who was a member of the Devils? Yes. Who was a current member of the New Jersey Devils.
Oh,
retired.
Like, what?
He never played a game for them, but like in the middle of training camp, it was announced that he would be taking a leave of absence. And within days, he announced that he was going to retire from the game. An illustrious career for him.
I'm going to look up his stats because we did Jay Bowmeister so nicely. And
in depth,
like,
I know. Yeah.
We're like, Corey Crawford.
But what we do know is he's a 3-time Stanley Cup winner, all within the span of 5 years. He was obviously the anchor of that 2010s Chicago Blackhawks team, which will go down as one of the dynasties of the NHL. And he belongs on the list with Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and Corey Crawford is really the third guy who engineered a all-time Cup run.
Yeah, so he's a 2-time Cup winner. Who was it? It was Niemi was the goalie in 10, that's right. I think.
Yeah.
So 260, 162, and 53 all-time record.
Mhm.
which is phenomenal. 2.4 goals against average with a 0.92 save percent or 0.918, 0.92 save percentage, 26 career shutouts, and 488 regular season games. And he's third on Chicago's all-time wins list. So, he's a first ballot.
Yep. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, without a doubt. A great career. I think he said in his press conference that he just didn't feel like hockey was a priority in his life anymore, which is sad that he got to that point. But at the same time, with a career like that, having played it for as long as he did, and with a family, it's important to respect his decision. And I know I speak for the both of us when I say that he'll be missed definitely by the New Jersey Devils and by the National Hockey League.
Absolutely. And it's a tough decision for Chicago because you want so bad to keep intact that core of that dynasty, but they're just not the same. So you just have to let some people. I think if he were still with Chicago, he'd still be playing. But
yeah, maybe. And I know he didn't start much last year, right? And he did take over during the playoffs, but
it was him and Lehner to start the season, and then Lehner went to Vegas.
Yeah. Anyway, so great career for Corey Crawford, but
we're sorry we forgot you.
Yeah, sorry we forgot you. Okay, Matt, let's get into this. NHL.com, in preparation for the season, their writers and producers voted on a lot of things, but one of the things that they voted on was the top 16 power rankings. And I'm just going to go down the list real quick, and then we'll react as we see fit. Tampa Bay, Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis, Philly, Washington, Dallas, Boston, Toronto, Carolina, Vancouver, New York, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, Montreal, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's the top 16 teams in the league.
New York is Islanders, not Rangers. So the Rangers didn't make the list.
Islanders. What do you think? I want to hear it. Your gut reaction.
So it was voted on by 13 writers voting system, and Tampa and Colorado are one vote apart. So they think Colorado is essentially a 1B, or they're tied for first. And the only reason Tampa got it is because they're the reigning Cup champs. And then Vegas, there's a significant drop off in votes to third, and then there's a ridiculous drop off to fourth. So Vegas is third, and then St. Louis is fourth. And then it's kind of like close between 5 and you could say 5 and 9 are close, which is Philly, Washington, Dallas, Boston, Toronto. The top 3 are right to me. Tampa, Colorado, Vegas. Those are the 3 best teams. We saw that in the bubble last year. Colorado had a bunch of injuries and Dallas just capitalized. I don't think Dallas is the same team they were last year. No offense. They don't really have they didn't really lose any key people, but I just don't think they're gonna recreate that run that they had last year. Whereas Tampa, I think, will. And then, you guys can look it up on NHL.com and add us on Twitter with your top 16. At face value, it looks good. I want Washington to be higher, but it is what it is. They're just not.
Same for Boston. And I see why they did that. Boston literally only got worse this year, and there's no other way to see it. I don't think they're going to have that big a drop-off. I think people underestimate the guys who are in the pipeline. There was literal outrage when Zdeno Chara left. Not a lot of people are giving any credit to the Boston Bruins system. But just me being a Bruins fan, that's what I'm going to talk on. But I will say something about St. Louis, who's number 4. And as much hate as I give them, they for sure deserve to be 4, if not higher, because they've improved immensely this offseason. Also, they named Ryan O'Reilly their captain, which is something we didn't get into. But naming him a captain and getting Torrey Krug in the offseason, and then recently signing Mike Hoffman to a quote-unquote tryout contract, which just means by the end of camp, we're going to dump off some salary to make room for Mike Hoffman. And that was the only way that they could sign him without going over the cap. But that's just a workaround that they use for that, which I always love. I always think those things are interesting. But St. Louis got significantly better over the offseason, and I do think that they will be in the top of the league, the conversation of the top 5 for the entire season.
I think sub in the Rangers somewhere. I think the Rangers are such a good young team. I think sub them out for Pittsburgh, honestly. To me, Pittsburgh's just getting older. I mean, I get they still have Crosby, Gensel, and Malkin, but their rock that is and was Matt Murray is gone. And Jari, while he was an all-star last year, hasn't really proven himself yet as a franchise starter. So, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, we're gonna stay up to date on the Super 16, but right now the top 3 are right, and St. Louis is a close 4. I agree with you on that because they got a lot better. And then 5 through 9 are all interchangeable to me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Although Toronto being at 9, I want them out of the Super 16 just because of the underwhelming performance in the playoffs last year. But
well, it's hard. What do you base it on? Do you base it on who has the best team, or who do you have the highest expectations for? Because if you're going by who has the best team talent-wise, Toronto should probably even be higher than they are. But I just don't have any expectations for them based on how horribly they've done in the past couple of years with that talent. They literally haven't gotten better or worse talent-wise for 3 years since they signed Tavares.
Yeah, they haven't really signed anyone except for they traded Tyson Barrie for Kadri, which was, that was a good trade, but they have no cap to improve ever.
Yep, and it just
when you have $100 million in 3 players, it's insane.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, fantasy draft tonight. NHL season starting tomorrow. There's a lot to talk about from here until July, maybe into August, depending on how things go. So,
yeah, we're in it for the long haul. We're once a week. You even saw how much we had to talk about. We forgot Corey Crawford, and we forgot Ryan O'Reilly being named cat. We forgot several things.
Yeah,
just so much going on in the hockey world, which is exciting for us because we can do shows once a week. So, hockey draft tonight. We'll
who's your number one pick? Who's the number 1 overall pick in the NHL, Matt?
McDavid.
Yeah,
Are you crazy?
I actually think it's Nathan MacKinnon.
Well,
stats wise, you can't argue that Connor McDavid is the best player in the league.
If we're doing stats wise, it would be Draisaitl.
You expect him to follow up that season with another Hart?
No,
run?
But if he's on the same power play as the number 1 power play in the league is McDavid, he's gonna get at least 50 points off special teams.
Yeah, but MacKinnon is also on one of the best power plays in the league.
I love MacKinnon. I want him to win a Hart. He keeps getting screwed, but you had to give it to Draisaitl last year.
Yeah. So you think, all right, let's do an impromptu awards because I just want to no preparation, just go through the big awards, and I want to make our guesses, our estimates, and I'll write them down here. Let's start with the Hart Trophy. Go ahead.
All right, let's do an impromptu awards, and then next week we get a chance to change them.
No.
What?
You live with this the entire
Okay,
season.
Well, I can't get any worse than I did last year because I picked PK Subban.
Dude, I still don't know why you did that.
All right. Who's winning the Hart? It's MacKinnon.
Okay. I'm going to go with Artemi Panarin.
Oh, how?
All right. Rocket Richard, most goals in the league.
Ovechkin.
David Pastrnak.
Well, they tied for it last year, so
yeah,
you can't turn away the hot hand. Ovi has 7 out of the last 8, or something crazy. 6 out of the last 7, whatever it is.
He's washed.
Okay, he scored 49 last year.
Okay, the Art Ross, most points in the league.
McDavid.
McKinnon. Norris Trophy, best defenseman.
Carlson.
This one's so hard for me. I want to say McAvoy, but I don't think he does it. Norris Trophy, Victor Hedman. I think Victor Hedman is a top 5 player in the world. People don't give him enough credit.
If they
In the
did
rankings, I think he was 13 and the NHL.com voted.
if
I
they
think
did
he's the 4th best player in the world.
a bubble Norris, he would have won it in a landslide.
Oh, it wouldn't even been close.
I think Carlson got so robbed last year that he has to win it. It needs to be a makeup vote. He could have 6 points this season. They have to give it to him.
Wow. Okay, and finally, the Vezina Trophy.
You know who's gonna win it, and I'm gonna break everything I own. You know, Hope's gonna win it for Vancouver, and I'm gonna.
Oh man, I don't think he did. That's an interesting narrative, though. Goalies on new teams, do they tend to do well? Robin Lehner did extremely well in Vegas. He beat out a Hall of Fame goaltender, so that should tell you how at least it's going recently. So, do you go with a goalie with a new team, or do you go with a mainstay? You say Holtby. I'm gonna say the young gun. You know who I'm gonna say?
Got a hat.
All right.
I think
that's all
Carey
we
Price
got.
wins the Vezina, and he rides off into the sunset.
You want to change it? I'll give you a
No,
chance.
I'm not gonna change it.
Okay. All right.
I
so
think
we
he
got
could
our
though
heart.
with Jake Allen as his backup.
Yeah. All right.
Hart's a good pick.
I think it's a good one too. I think he's gonna win one. It's a little soon, but I'm a fan of the bold take, so I'm gonna stick with it.
All right. I'm so mad that we just did that off the cuff.
Okay. Hockey.
But I also know
you did way better this year than you did last year. I can already tell you that.
I also know that if I pick Connor McDavid to win the Art Ross and McKinnon to win the Hart, if
It's gonna switch.
if McDavid is the Art Ross, he's winning the Hart because, and it's not necessarily that they always coincide, but the past couple years, by far the best player has had the most points. Kucherov did it 2 years ago. He had like 130, and Draisaitl was the only person over 110 last year. So, I mean, I think if McDavid gives Hart voters any reason to give it to him, they will, which he deserves. To me, he's still the best player in the world.
I'm not going to write this down, Matt, but just based on past seasons, how many points do you think the Art Ross Trophy will have in 56 games instead of 82? You got to think it's been about 120 for the past few years.
I say at least still 100.
Really?
Draisaitl had 112 in 69 games?
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say 95, something around that. 90.
I just think, and if anyone gets to the 100 mark in a, 56 game season?
Yeah.
You have to give them every award ever.
Yeah, agreed. All right. NHL is back tomorrow on January 13th. And from then on in, there's hockey every single day until July. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm wearing my Screaming Eagle to class on Thursday. See what our professor says.
There you go. Yep. The Bruins and the Capitals, if you're looking at, those two teams, they both kick off on Thursday. They play
at 7
at the end of the month, January 30th and February 1st, I think the dates are. The Caps and Bruins play for the first 2 times on a back-to-back. One of those, probably the Saturday game, will be broadcast on YouTube in a live stream with me and Matt.
Well, the game won't be broadcast, but we will be doing like a companion, and you can sync up our audio with the game.
We'll be updating you on how much time is left, or maybe we'll put a ticker in if we can figure it out. But either way, you're going to want to tune into that because I know it's going to be a lot of fun, and I know the trash talking aspect of this podcast is definitely probably the biggest moneymaker. So,
well, it's not really a rivalry because we've won 16 out of the last
Yeah.
18. So, all right, hockey's back. I'm going to pick up pizza in like an hour. So let's
See you
go.
next week.
We'll see y'all next week. Peace. Zach, Nick,
Oh.
Danny, Kevin.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all tonight.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right. Peace.